I'm always trying to feed. Family first, they get the first slice from me immediately. And then the try provide with no questions if I obtain the means. Uncut, straight to the gut, like a 1-inch punch. Followed by flicking just to the dome, and I don't bluff much. Only time I do is when I say I'm letting up. Need a neck pressure.
It's a couple motivators, man. It's just the whole Philadelphia music scene, man. Like the whole art scene made me look at it from my purview was, I'm from the county, so like coming out here doing music, putting yourself out there, you run into so many different people, right? And I've been in many different situations, or not situations, just different atmospheres. My first taste of the arts before I started performing was the poetry scene, Shout out to the First Fridays Poetry Club, ink, bars. Being introduced to the arts that way was pretty dope. And then, I started going to open mics. My first one was How Do You Flow? Shout out to CSW. I got to meet all different type of artists there, right? R&B singers, live instrumentalists, rappers, of course. And then I got into the cypher, Poppy Store cypher, which shout out to Prophet, shout out to Ink, Marissa Joy. Shout out to the Poppy Store, because it wasn't just a place where we was gonna be, getting, as my man Spady said, getting your bacon, egg, and cheese. It was, it was a whole community staple. So that, for me, was 3 different stages of the culture. I got the poetry and its rawness. I got the open mics and people getting up there being vulnerable, being raw with their talents. And then I got to the cypher. That's grassroots when it comes to rap. And I got to experience all of that. And while I was sitting down, I'm like, damn, I'm about to make this whole project. I need people to see the vision. I need people to feel where it's coming from. And the perfect thing that came to me was the script, because it was like it's like a whole movie. For me, being involved in the arts out here is like a whole movie. You know what I mean? That's what motivated me to call this the script, because the way that it's being broken down and presented is literally like a script. So by the time you're done listening to it and you run it back, it'll be like a movie.
Flash like hollow points by standing with vestless chest. And I'm here to cross wires as I'm ruffling the plumage of the eagle, claiming pigeons that never fly. I'm a movement. And Singleton in the 90s, anticipation kind of vibe. Mike Lowry screaming at Marcus, I'm about to shift the drive. Don't need recognition, but you'll recognize the aftermath by the face expressions and pale complexion.
This body of work, this masterpiece, that's what I'm calling it, has a couple tracks on it. The first track is called Lupe, Cuddy, and Mac. And that's not the first track, but that's the first track that comes to my mind. Lupe, Cuddy, and Mac is self-explanatory. It's Lupe Fiasco, Kid Cudi, and Mac Miller. Rest in peace. So Lupe and Cuddy and Mac is about how those 3, not just musicians, but men at different stages in my life, changed my perception, gave some type of guidance, or gave me motivation musically and in my personal life.
Hand me down, the portrait is mine, the inspiration hails from out of town. Monochromatic underpaint, like the Highland, quite opaque. Westside Windy City blends well with Kendall Park. Shapes the etches and the strokes of semantics against statistics. The messages through the melodies against the grain of
life. It's my favorite track, too. I'm gonna go ahead and say that's probably my favorite track right now. The next track is called Fantasy Love. Is not your typical track, man talking about a woman. It's that, but it's told in the premise of a homeboy talking to his mans, and he's speaking about like, yo, I just met the girl of my dreams. And the way he tells the story is he talks about how they met. He talks about how, they courted, or he courted her, how their relationship progressed all the way up to them having children. And it's reality and fantasy because of the follow-up track. That follow-up track, I'm not even gonna tell y'all the name of that. You're gonna have to find that one out. But shout out to my man Nickel, because he's on the follow-up track. The next track after those 2 is Talk About It. Talk About It is about black men's mental health in America. Now, it's not told in the scope of, talking about how, there's a lack of importance of black man's health, or how it's not really paid attention to, or how people need to do this or how people need to do that, or even telling a story. it's literally being told through a scope of a person who is guiding you through how a black man deals with his mental health on a day-to-day, whether that be therapy, whether that be venting, whether that be whatever vices he has, or whatever it is that keeps him pushing, and how nobody ever really can tell if someone is having mental health issues or not. Because if we're gonna keep it a bean, no one knows if a black man has mental health. They just know of the stigmas. So that's what that joint is doing. That's breaking that stigma. The interludes and the skits. The one interlude is done by my girl, my twin, Indigo Speaks. She's got a piece on there that leads into the next set of tracks. Because again, if you think about it as a movie, think of it like a Scorsese, a Spike Lee, and a Quentin Tarantino film. And how it's a story, but it's many different stories inside of one. But let's keep it moving. Well, most of my music has, well, all my music has pieces of me in it. My heart, my soul, my thoughts. With this, I want people to really tap in and tune into, you know, just a large aspect of who I am. As not just an artist, but as a person. You know what I mean? If you've been rocking with me before, you already know like what I'm about. With this album, you know, you're gonna see where my actions are put into words. Like, you know, they say actions speak louder than words. Well, my words lead to my actions, and now my actions are about to lead to a whole different story, a whole different saga. It's literally gonna be the beginning of, you know, the next level that I'm going to, not just musically, but just personally, like with my personal life, you know, like with my son, you know, my wife, my job, all of that. Like it's a, yeah, I know, right? It's gonna be a whole movie basically. So I want people to walk away from it like they were watching a movie. You know what I mean? Like, and there's, if you know me, you already know there's a lot of meanings behind my music. It's multi-layered, it's multifaceted. And you know, on the other side, I want it to be successful, but not successful in the way that most people deem successful when it comes to music. I want it to reach people, whether it's a lot of people or just 5 people. I want it to reach people and impact people. I ain't gonna lie though, I do want this shit to bubble like fish because this shit is actually gonna be a masterpiece. It is. It's taking time and, you know, hard work, sweat, blood, tears, and I want it to really catch the attention of some people, you know, and not just DJs, but like community people as well, you know. And I want to leave behind something that my children can listen to when they need motivation, when they need to think of dad. Music that they can play for their friends, music that they can play for people and not feel embarrassed because I'm talking about some old nut shit. Or, you know what I mean? I'm saying something that is unflattering and, you know, will throw salt on our family name. You know what I mean? I want my kids to be proud of this. Not just their dad, but just the legacy that they're a part of. That's what I want for this album. Studio session after 3 weeks. Yeah. Nobody, Mrs. Nobody, nephew Nobody, cousin Nobody, mama Nobody, brother Nobody.
Let's keep it to Ulysses Grants inside the Corinthian leather wallet. Bitch, I'm the man. 20 Kelvin temperature, temperament like a tuber crest. Atom splitting, vibe in any room, although I'm weaponless. What I meant to say really is that I am a weapon less from ripping flesh like hollow points. Bystander with vestless chest. And I'm here to cross wires as I'm ruffling the plumage of the eagle, claiming pigeons that never fly. I'm a movement. At Singleton in the 90s, anticipation kind of vibe. Mike Lowry screaming at Marcus, I'm about to shift the drive. Don't need recognition, but you'll recognize the aftermath by the face expressions and pale complexion from half a blast. I'm focused on the vision like Wanda. You niggas go fish. Word to Kevin Kline, Michael Palin, and Jamie Curtis. Scorsese with the construction, that thing right like Spike does it. Had to pen a masterpiece, cause mediocre doesn't cut it. The script.
Working. On the road again.
I just can't wait to get on the road again. Y'all fucking with that? On the road again. Yeah. Yeah, let's throw that in there.